We got imposters, assassins, a dude with no ears, and a horny horse, all leading up to the story about how one of the greatest leaders in history took the throne. Let me tell you the story about how Darius the Great became king of Persia. Darius the Great is quite possibly the greatest leader in the history of the Persian Empire. From 522 BCE to 486 BCE, he expanded the Persian Empire into parts of Europe and modern-day India, developing infrastructure, legal systems, and construction that brought his people together. But the story of how Darius became the king of Persia is freaking crazy. Darius's journey to the throne actually starts with the sons of the first great Persian king, Cyrus the Great. We have Cambisis, who is the then king of Persia, and his younger brother, Bardia. Cambisis wanted to expand his father's legacy, so he conquered Egypt with his younger brother, Bardia, in tow. Successful there, Cambisis wanted to move farther into Africa, but afraid of uprisings back in Persia, he sent his younger brother, Bardia, back to kind of check on things. Cambisis continued his campaign, but couldn't make it past Ethiopia. One, his army wasn't really prepared, and two, Cambisis was becoming a little crazy, a little paranoid. Known for being cruel and eccentric, he started to think that everyone was out to get him, including his own brother, Bardia. So when Cambisis had a dream where he saw Bardia on the throne, he could not let that slide. So purely based off of a dream, Cambisis sends an assassin to kill his younger brother, Bardia. The assassin comes back, tells him, got him, he dead, we good to go. So you can imagine Cambisis' surprise when a couple months later, he hears that Bardia is leading a revolt for the throne. What? Well, it turns out there was an imposter on the throne who bore a striking resemblance to his dead brother. So Cambisis, with his now warranted paranoia, rushes back to Persia to stop the revolt, but unfortunately dies along the way. One nobleman, Otanes, thinks the imposter is a magi named Gaumata, and he can prove it if he can see his ears. See, Gaumata had his ears chopped off by Cambisis years ago, so if he can prove that this dude doesn't have any ears, he can prove he's not the rightful king. So Otanes calls in a favor. His daughter happens to be one of the wives of the fake king. He tells her to check under his turban while he's sleeping to see if he has ears. She does, and sure enough, he ain't got no ears. Imposter. So Otanes gets his other nobleman friends, including Darius, and decides to stage a coup. So on this day in history, September 29th, 522 BCE, Darius and his boys roll up in the palace, start chopping magi heads off, and get that imposter Gaumata out of there. But which one of the noblemen would become king? Now that was decided by a horse. Each of the noblemen lined their horses up and decided that the first horse to neigh at the rising sun would become king, because that makes a lot of sense, whatever. Sure enough, Darius's horse was the first to neigh, albeit helped by his friend who brought the scent of a female horse to get things going. So there you have it. Darius defeats the imposter Gaumata and becomes the rightful king of Persia. But wait, plot twist, historians actually believe that the entire story was made up. Yeah, that there was no imposter. But why do they think that? Well, because the main source for the story is Darius. Historians think it's more likely that Darius did kill the real Bardia and steal his throne. But killing a rightful king and stealing his throne doesn't really develop a lot of trust from your people. So Darius came up with this story. Either way, imposter or not, Darius the Great would go on to lead his people to decades of development, growth, and tolerance, and some wild-ass storytelling.